Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Let me welcome you to the Burke County Board of Commissioners regular meeting for Tuesday, January the 15th, 2019. Pardon me. Madam Clerk, all of the commissioners are here along with the county attorney, county manager, and the deputy county manager. Let me remind you, if you have your cell phones with you, if you would at this time, please check them and put them on silent for us while we're in the meeting. And if you are a presenter tonight, if you'll come to either the table or the podium and mash the button when the red light comes on, that will activate the speaker so that you will be recorded for the meeting. We're just very happy to have with us tonight for our invocation Pastor David Bridges from the First Apostolic Church. He'll be giving our invitation, and as soon as David finishes with the invitation, Deputy Jones from the Burke County Sheriff's Department will come forward and lead us in our Pledge of Allegiance. So if you'll stand, and David, come on for us tonight.
Let's pray together. Lord Jesus, we thank you and praise you for this day that you've given us. Thank you for life and liberty. Lord, we pray that this meeting tonight would be pleasing to you. Your word declares that the power of life and death is in the tongue. I pray, God, that every word that's spoken in this meeting tonight wouldn't bring death, but would bring life to our community and our county. Pray that you would bless these proceedings and bless everything that's done as we give you the glory and honor that you're so worthy of. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Deputy Jones.
You want a photo? He's the one that takes the photo.
He's one. You got it all wrote down. Debbie, we're going to come back and take a picture with you. Thank you so much, sir. Moving on to item number 4 tonight will be the approval of the agenda. Gentlemen, you have the agenda in front of you, and I will accept a motion. So moved. All right, we have a motion in front of us. All in favor signify by uplifted right hands. That will be unanimous, Madam Clerk. Moving to the approval of the minutes. Gentlemen, you have in front of you and have had the approval, the minutes for November the 20th of 2018, which was a regular meeting, December the 3rd, 2018, which is an organizational meeting, and December the 3rd, the pre-agenda meeting minutes. And I'm open for a motion.
Move to be approved.
Motion approved. All in favor signify by raising your right hands. Madam Clerk, that will be 5-0. Thank you so much. Moving on to item number 6 in presentations. Our first presentation tonight will be the North Carolina Department of Transportation. The presentation will be regarding the STI prioritization and programming process, and that will be presented by Stephen Parks, engineer from the NCDOT Division 13 Corridor Development. Stephen, there you are.
Good evening. How is everybody?
Good evening, sir.
I am the Corridor Development Engineer for Division 13, and I am tasked with helping municipalities, counties develop projects that will hopefully make the funding cut in the State Transportation Improvement Program, and that's the essence of this presentation tonight. So how do we get projects funded? The previous perception was it was very opaque, and if you'll look, people think that a bunch of men sit in the back of a smoke-filled room over there branding cigars and divided up the transportation budget. We thought there's a better way to do this that can be data-driven and will deliver projects more efficiently and effectively. And about 2008, we came up with prioritization, which is what I'm talking about tonight. It started in 2008. It was so successful, but by 2013, House Bill 817 was signed into law with bipartisan support. Considering today's political landscape, it was widely popular throughout the legislature. And it was the biggest change in transportation legislation since the 1989 Highway Trust Fund. Wait, oh, shoot. Oh, there we go. And so where do projects come from? Well, they come from long-range transportation plans, comprehensive counties, comprehensive transportation plan, or a municipality's a municipal transportation plan. And how do we go from the long-range transportation plans to prioritization funding? It's through this method that we call prioritization. And I loved watching Schoolhouse Rock when I was a kid, and we all remember the bill that wants to become a law. So every project that we put in through prioritization, we want to see it get funded. And that is my job in essence. So if you look at the STIP budget, the budget for the Transportation Improvement Plan, 40% of it is, and again, I keep hitting the wrong button. Hope y'all won't run me off. 40% of the funds go to statewide mobility, and when we talk about statewide mobility, we're talking about our interstates, our major U.S. routes. 30% of those funds then go to regional impact, and those fall under the U.S. roads that are not as part of the National Highway System, or, you know, your NC routes, stuff like that. And then the last 30% goes down to division needs. Those are your secondary roads, and any project like at statewide or regional that does not get funded, we could fund it down at division as well. Same thing at the regional. If a statewide project does not make the funding cut, we could fund it at the regional level. And we start out with the criteria. What criteria do we use to determine what's a good project? Well, you can see it's congestion, benefit, cost, freight, safety, and economic competitiveness at the statewide. It makes up 100% of this score that we give the project. The division, the MPO, and the RPO have no say-so in how this project scores or not. So, and again, we think these are interstates. We have traffic counts, accident data. We know more about these projects at the statewide level than we do anything on an interstate. But you go down to the regional one, and you can see it changes slightly, but those are the criteria that are used to fund, that we use to score projects for funding at the regional level, but it only makes up 70% of the score. So the remaining 30% is divided 15% between the division and the local MPO and RPO that the project falls under. Now that is points. So 100 points, if the division assigns 100 points, that equals 15% of the score, max. Same thing for the MPO or RPO. Then you go down to the division, and we're drilling down even further. Again, you can still see that it has roughly the same scores, but they're going to be weighted just a little differently. And this time it only makes up 50% of the score. So the MPO, RPO, and the division now have at least half of the say of just how high this project will score. And to go over, we can see the state of North Carolina. It's made up of 13 divisions. Burke is in the 13th division, and we have broken it up into funding regions. There are 2 divisions per region. Division 13 makes up Region G, along with Division 14. So when we talk about those regional impact, it is competing with the other 16 other counties here in the western part of the state. At the division needs, it only competes with the 7 counties that make up Division 13. So you can see we're just shrinking the state down further for projects. And we are starting a new round of prioritization, and if you can read, we are in the very beginning stages of this round. It is a 2-year process, so it is a marathon. But you can see it's very long. It takes a long time. We invest a lot of time into these projects. And throughout there are multiple times for us to change enter projects. And then, of course, once the spot office assigns that score, we can then decide to assign points at both the regional and division levels when they open that up to us. And at the end of all this, we are now currently sitting with the current draft STIP. It will be voted on by the Board of Transportation shortly. And it is a 10-year spending document. It funds our projects over the next 10 years. It will fund other projects as well, interstate, maintenance, safety, and bridges, though some of the spot safety and stuff like that is not part of our budget, because if we have an emergency that we need to fix, as I said, prioritization is a 2-year process. We don't want to take 2 years to fix a project that has an immediate need. So there are other avenues of funding. This is just one of the avenues of funding for a project. And it's roughly about 55% of the DOT budget, as I explained. There are other avenues of funding to get a project funded more quickly if there is a need for that. And hopefully here we will get a final new transportation improvement plan for, I think that will be 2020 to 2029. And as there is, this is my name and information. If you have any questions about anything, do not hesitate to call. Be happy to entertain any questions that anybody has at this moment.
Okay, thank you, Stephen. The floor is open for questions for Stephen and/or comments.
Stephen, I think it might be a good thing to note that I think over the next 10 years, Burke County is targeted to receive somewhere around $120 million for bridges, road improvements, which is in itself a nice gift, a boost of the economy at least for a period. So I just thought I'd add that because it is a lot of money for Burke County.
Yes.
Stephen, are you able to give a quick update on the interstate projects that are occurring in Burke County right now?
I solicited some responses. I know they're ongoing. The last meeting that I attended, at this point, of course, the rehab is ongoing, and they are pretty much shut down for any more further asphalt operations until the spring. Those are the seasonal limitations placed by our standards and specifications. But they will resume as soon as temperatures warm up in the spring.
Okay, what at exit 111, is that a new bridge or a temporary bridge?
I believe they are on the temporary bridge. I do not know if they finished construction of the new bridge at this time. But I'll be happy to try to find that out.
That's okay. Any other comments or questions?
Just curious, Stephen, what was the DOT budget last year?
I do not have that answer. It was, I could look that up for you. I'm sorry. I do not have that information readily available.
Anything else? All right, we'll entertain a motion.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
All right, we have a motion to accept the report as presented. All in favor signify by raising your right hands. Madam Clerk, that will be 5-0. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
That. Moving on to item number 2 in our presentations is a proclamation honoring Big Brothers and Big Sisters for 20 years of service to Burke County, presented by Dorian Palmer from Big Brothers Big Sisters. Dorian?
Good evening, gentlemen. Good evening, gentlemen. As always, thank you. So Big Brothers Big Sisters has been in Burke County for 20 years, and we're so excited. So in 2019, we're doing some major things here in Burke County. Excuse me. So a couple things we're doing is we're actually rebranding our logo. I'm sure you're all familiar with the mentor and mentee up in the corner. We're changing that. We're going to this logo here. I didn't bring a paper copy, I'm sorry. It's a little B and then the big B finishing it off. Mentoring, showing that mentoring makes a difference. That's something that we launched at the national level in October, and we're bringing it to Burke County here beginning this month, 2019. Throughout 2019, we have various fundraisers and things going on. In February, our Roll for Kids' Sake is our annual fundraiser we do down in Valdez, and what we're doing there is we're doing a birthday party for our Bowling for Kids' sake to raise funds for us. Again, Big Brothers Big Sisters have been in Burke County for 20 years, and we're so excited. I don't have the proclamation in front of me. I was running late this evening from work. Mr. Carswell, forgive me.
That is no problem. Any questions for Dorian or comments?
Mr. Chairman, I just have one. Mr. Palmer, on the average, yearly, how many people do we help or assist
Okay,
under
sure.
the
So,
program?
for the last 5 years at least, we've maxed. The most matches in Burke County we've had is 52. And so right now we have little boys waiting for men to mentor them. We have adult females waiting for littles to be matched with. So right now we're at 23 matches in Burke County alone. We are across 10 counties in Western North Carolina. We have in the 2018 or 17-18 fiscal year across the region at all 10 counties we served over 3,000 children.
If somebody wants to become a big brother, big sister, you want to tell us how you
Sure.
get
So the
that?
easiest way to do that is go to bbbswnc.org. There it'll explain to you it'll give you the application and the inquiry form. And from there, our program coordinator for Burke County, Nina Caldwell, will be more than happy to give you a call. We just moved offices as well. We were over in the junior high building. Now we're on the 3rd floor over at First United Methodist here in Morganton. And if you guys have any questions, I will email you our contact information. I'll email it to Ms. Strong, and she'll be sure to get it to the commissioners.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, guys. God bless you.
Thank you, Dorian. This time I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move to adopt proclamation 2019-01.
Thank you, Commissioner Britton. All in favor of Jeff's motion, please signify by raising the right hand. Madam Clerk, that will be unanimous, 5-0. Moving on to our scheduled public hearings tonight. Our first public hearing is community development from zoning map ZMA 2018-08 and public hearing presented by Deputy County Manager and Planning Director Scott Carpenter. Scott?
Good evening, gentlemen. Madam Clerk, it's a pleasure to be here this evening. I only have one item for your consideration tonight, and staff has received a rezoning application to rezone one parcel of land that totals 1.34 acres. The request is to rezone the property from its current zoning of R2 residential to the planned residential mixed-use zoning district. As far as the site goes, the 911 address of the parcel is 3268 North Carolina 126, Morganton. The parcel has approximately 520 feet of frontage on North Carolina 126, which is also classified as a principal arterial road. The parcel is vegetated with a few standing trees. Most of the parcel is relatively level. The parcel is served by public water only. There is wastewater, but it is not accessible from this site because the system is pressurized up until you get right past this site, only a few hundred feet, but it makes a world of difference in the city of Morganton allowing a hook on there. Wastewater disposal would be handled by a private on-site septic system. The property is located within the Lake James Water Supply watershed, which is classified as a WS4 watershed. As far as the surrounding land uses go, the surrounding area is a mixture of commercial businesses, residential homes, and vacant land. The parcel is located 200 feet from the intersection of North Carolina 126 and North Powerhouse Road. The intersection is a commercial hub to this area. To the north of the property is an 83-acre undeveloped parcel, which is proposed as future development within the Hawksbill subdivision. To the east are several commercial businesses, the Lake James Volunteer Fire Department, a convenience store, and a new restaurant. To the south is vacant land and several dwellings, and to the west is several more occupied dwellings and an abandoned home and large undeveloped tracts of land. As far as the existing zoning goes, for this area to the north is planned residential mixed-use conditional district, which is actually Hawksbill and that master planning process that was done. To the south is general business. To the east, sort of southeast, is neighborhood business as well as general business. And to the west is planned residential mixed-use conditional district. So as far as conformity with the comprehensive plan goes, the future land use map shows and indicates that this area is an economic development focus area or a node. So the economic development nodes are small areas where commercial development or institutional types of things or mixed use are located, and where additional development or similar uses is encouraged. So that being at one of our intersections near Lake James, that would be a place that you might see a Dollar General or something like that come to serve the area. The current zoning district for this parcel is R2. The zoning ordinance defines R2 district as a district composed of high to medium density single family site-built homes, modular homes, and Class A manufactured homes, which are double wides with vinyl siding and shingled roofs. The proposed planned residential mixed-use district was essentially created to allow a mix of housing types and non-residential uses to exist in harmony. The Planning Board met on December 5th, 2008, and after receiving a motion to approve, it was voted on unanimously 4-0 to make a recommendation to this board to approve this rezoning. A statement of consistency is required of the board if you so choose to make a motion to rezone this property. The county manager's recommendation is for approval, and there is no budgetary effect from this rezoning. And you have received the table of uses that allow things by right and conditional use, and as well as some other attachments that show the surrounding area and what is taking place. And I'll be happy to answer questions following the public comment period.
Thank you, Scott, for that presentation. Commissioners, questions for Scott regarding this rezoning project?
Mr. Chairman, I think we got most of them answered during our pre-agenda 2 weeks ago. And Scott, I believe the plans for this piece of property is to sell it and then allow whatever business that buys it would be. So we can't answer the question of what business is going in there yet, correct?
That is correct, sir.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, any other questions for Scott? Hearing none, I'll now open the floor for a public hearing. Madam Clerk, is there anyone here that would like to speak to ZMA 2018-08? Seeing no one and hearing no one, Madam Clerk, I will close the public hearing. Gentlemen, this is up for your consideration and motion along with a statement of consistency.
Mr. Chairman, I make the motion to adopt order number 2019-01, amending the Byrd County zoning map and related consistent statement. Statement of consistency. The proposed rezoning would be consistent with the 2016-2030 Byrd County Strategic Land Use Plan and considered reasonable and in the public's interest because, number one, the proposed zoning reclassification is consistent with the purpose, goals, and objectives and policies of the accepted or adopted land use plan and other plans for the physical development of the county as adopted by the Board of Commissioners. The proposed zoning reclassification is compatible with the overall character of existing development in the immediate vicinity of the subject property. There is adequate of public facilities and services to serve this subject property, including but not limited to roadways, parks, and recreational facilities, police and fire protection, school, stormwater drainage systems, water supplies, wastewater treatment systems, and garbage services.
Thank you, Commissioner Taylor. Gentlemen, you've heard the motion. All in favor signify by raising your right hand. Madam Clerk, that is unanimous, 5-0. Thank you, Scott.
Thank you, gentlemen. Have a nice evening.
Moving on to our next item will be a scheduled public hearing from Burke Development Incorporated, a building reuse grant for a caring alternative, and public hearing that will be presented by Alan Wood from BDI. Alan?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, Madam Clerk, County Attorney. Thank you for the opportunity to be here, and the County Manager. Don't want to leave him out. This is a caring alternative. It's a building reuse grant that's administered by the Department of Commerce. This is under a slightly different than what we normally do. This was for health care in rural communities. It's 23 jobs. It's $10,000 per job. It does require the local match. This grant is being administered by the City of Morganton. They have, as per normal procedure when we have one, that match is split between Burke County and the City of Morganton when approved. So the portion that would be Burke County's on this would be $5,750. This is for the One North Square property, and rehab is ongoing on that facility. So these jobs do exceed the county average, which is a requirement for this grant. So I'd be glad to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you, Alan, for your presentation. Gentlemen, questions for Alan?
Mr. Chairman, if I may, Alan, I don't have a question about this subject, but I did notice in, I believe it was this morning's paper, and it talked about several entities who had received millions of dollars and they didn't live up to, they didn't employ the number of employees and all that, and they were having to return that money. My question is, since we're talking about that, is do we have anybody in that situation in Burke County as of now? No.
We, to my knowledge, everyone that, most of the grants, especially that we do locally, are performance-based. And so if they have to perform prior to any money being presented. On these, we've done several reuse. I don't know the exact number. We have none that are outside of compliance at the current time. And to my knowledge, we have not had one that has not fully met their obligations.
Well, the one that came to mind when I read that story was Newville Socks, and it was bought out by somebody, and I can't remember the name right now. But
there was no money that was sent to them locally. That there was a reuse grant that was the first time, but they met all the obligations on that particular project, and so that was closed prior to them being purchased.
Well, that's really good news for us then.
Yeah. As far as I know, we have none are outside compliance in any way.
You must be doing a good job.
I don't know that I have anything to do with it.
Thank you, sir.
Any other questions or comments? If not, I'll open a public hearing for the building reuse grant for a caring alternative. Is there anyone that would like to speak to this issue? Madam Clerk, seeing no one to speak to this issue, I will close the public hearing. Gentlemen, this matter is up for consideration and/or motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve an appropriation of general fund balance in the amount of $5,750 for an economic development incentive for a caring alternative.
Thank you, Commissioner Mulwig. Gentlemen, you've heard the motion. All in favor signify by raising your right hands. Madam Clerk, that is unanimous, 5-0. Thank you, Alan.
Thank you very much.
Moving on to item number 8 on our agenda is informal public comments. Madam Clerk, has anyone signed up?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have 4 citizens signed up to speak. I would call Miss Gwen Hood to the podium.
Ladies and gentlemen, as you move to the podium, if you would, just state your name for me, if you would, and just kind of give me a title of what you want to talk about tonight. And remember, the timer is on the board. If you can, keep it to 3 minutes and/or less, if you can.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gwen.
Thank you for tonight and for the opportunity to speak to everyone. It's good to see everybody. Happy New Year. I wanted to introduce a new group that we have formed. It is a diversified group. It is made up of different animal rescue organizations in our area and surrounding area. It is made up of animal welfare organizations and also private citizens who are pet owners and animal lovers and advocates. Our new group is called the Burke County Animal Welfare Alliance. And the rescues that are involved are ourselves, A Better Life Animal Rescue, Partners for Cats, Cat's Cradle, Hartman's Haven, Mercy Fund, Hearts and Hands, and then also Reason is with our group. This is a diversified group. Our two main goals for this group is to unite as one strong voice, to be able to come to our county officials and work with our animal control officers so that we can save more lives out of the animal control facility, which is a kill shelter. And our second main goal is to become a no-kill county. We would really like to try to push toward our county becoming a no-kill county. Currently, there are no licensed shelters that are pulling from animal control. Everybody that has been pulling in the last several months to meet the need, of course, of what's been going on in our county has been foster-based rescues and also private adoptions that we've been getting word out for people to adopt and reinforcing what the new animal ordinance was allowing for the public to do. We do have a few things that we would like to, at some point, get onto the public hearing agenda to present to the commissioners some suggestions, some problem-solving solutions that we think might be a better, more effective way of saving more animals out of the out of animal control. So we will like to try to get onto your public hearing agenda at some point. We just wanted to introduce ourselves tonight, and we wanted to. There are two more pressing matters that we really felt like we didn't need to wait. We needed to come before the commissioners and ask for your help. And there's several other ladies that are going to be speaking on these other two matters. What we do need is some change in the current policy at animal control of the procedures and policies. And we really do need a volunteer to be able to get inside the facility. We are working hard to get as many networked as possible. We've set up a schedule where there's 2 going every day to get videos and pictures out, and it's working because those animals that are getting out there and networked through video and pictures, I would say probably close to 98% are getting saved, rescued, or adopted out of there. So it works. But we need a bigger scale, we need a bigger way to do this. So I'd like for everybody that's here, not everybody could obviously make it. We have currently right now 344 members, and we are still gaining. So everyone that is here with the Burke County Animal Welfare Alliance, if you would please stand. So this is a small fraction that we were able to pull together kind of overnight quickly to get in front of you tonight. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Gwen.
Carla Wallace.
Good evening. I'm Carla Wallace. I'm also a member of Burke County Animal Welfare Alliance, and I'm a concerned citizen. I'm here today to talk to you about the cats being killed at animal control and what we can do to decrease the numbers. We do not have the statistics yet for 2018. However, in 2017, 89% of the cats were killed versus 42% of the dogs. We have got to do something to give the cats a fighting chance. I think we have found a way to decrease the numbers. For the past few months, I and several others have been going to animal control, doing videos and pictures of the dogs. And as Gwen mentioned, that has had a great success rate. To help others find lost pets, and also to get the animals adopted or rescued from rescues. Due to the videos, well, I just said that, I'm sorry. Herein lies the problem with the cats. We are not allowed to take pictures or videos of the cats. And this really hinders us in getting those animals helped. It is extremely difficult to get an animal saved when you can't show them the face. The face is what steals the hearts. and that's what helps get them adopted. In 2017, only 164 out of 1,800 plus cats were saved. The rest died. That is over 1,600 deaths. This has got to change. We need your help and the public's help to make a small but important change to allow the cats a better chance of finding a home. We feel being able to get their faces out there and networked will help them get adopted. I do want to add that for the most part, the officers at Animal Control have done their best to assist us for the most part, with of course some bumps in the road. But we understand that their hands are tied on the issue. They do not want to kill so many, and decreasing the numbers should also make their jobs easier. They have also told me many times they wish we could rescue more. I think if we can get your pictures rule changed, it will make their jobs easier and it will save countless lives. And I would even be willing to volunteer myself to do the videos if I have to. I do want to add that all surrounding counties do this themselves. They take pictures or videos and post them online and get those animals adopted. I see no reason our shelter could not do the same. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wallace. All right, Madam Clerk.
Miss Michelle Sessoms.
Good evening, I'm Michelle Sessoms. I am Vice President of McDowell Animal Welfare Alliance, and I'm here on behalf of Pamela Lookbill that cannot attend tonight. She is the president of Forever Friends. It is a foster-based cat rescue out of Asheville, North Carolina, and I would like permission to approach so I can give you all a sample of the letter.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, it says, Dear Commissioners, Forever Friends Animal Rescue Network, established 2002, has been approved to rescue cats from the Burke County Animal Shelter. However, the time constraints set forth by the shelter management for pickup between 2 p.m. and 3 p.m. on Tuesdays and Thursdays are too confining for our organization. We are an all-volunteer 501c3 with no paid employees. Most of our volunteers have work commitments. As our primary focus is to rescue cats from high kill shelters, we work with a number of North Carolina and South Carolina animal control agencies and find them to be more accommodating. One of our rescue partners, Alexander County, also allows rescues to pick up an animal anytime during operating hours and has, on a few occasions, had a staff member transport animals halfway between Taylorsville and Asheville, or even once to Asheville. On 2 occasions, we were able to assist Alexander County with completely clearing their shelter of cats. Many partners provide photos and videos via email and Facebook postings with animals' descriptions, health records, and temperament information for the animals so that we can choose those that may best suit our adoptive parents. These photos and videos are facilitated by both shelter employees and volunteers. In Alexander County, emails come from the shelter director. In Wake County, Facebook postings come from the county rescue coordinator. In York County, emails come from the shelter director and Facebook postings come from volunteers. It should be noted that in at least one shelter, county jail inmates are involved in daily animal care. The inmates are not photographed. If you have any questions regarding our organization, please feel free to contact me. And this is sincerely Pamela Lookbill, President and COO. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Sessoms. Madam Clerk?
Joey Harkle Road.
Good evening. I'm Joy Harkle Road, and I'm the founder of Mercy Animal Rescue in Marion and also the president of McDowell County Animal Welfare Alliance. I've been in rescue for over 30 years, and I'm here tonight to ask this board to consider making a change in its shelter policy restrictions to allow more lives to be saved. Currently, Burke County differentiates between licensed shelters and foster-based shelters. No other county does this. We work with many other counties. Currently, foster-based rescues can only pull from your shelter on Tuesday and Thursdays from 2 to 3 p.m., where licensed shelters can pull Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Currently, you have 6 foster-based rescues approved to pull from your shelter, and only one other rescue is waiting pending to be approved, and no licensed shelters pulling. I know Burke Friends for Animals will be getting a license back, and there'll be a licensed shelter pulling, but as of right now, none of those are. This makes no sense if our goal is to save lives. As it stands now, if we see an animal that we want to pull and its hold time is up on Friday, then that animal has to wait in the county pound until Tuesday at 2 o'clock. That's 5 days. And it's costing the county money to feed them. And and if it's sick, it's a difference between life and death. Those 5 days do make a difference. For example, about a month ago, we pulled 3 little puppies out of the shelter. An officer from Burke County had approached us to pull because the rescue that she normally worked with hadn't been approved to pull yet. And so they wanted us to get approved to pull. So we did, and we got those 3 little puppies out, and we took them immediately to our vet, and they tested positive for coccidia, which was not the shelter's fault. That's just, they come in sick and all, but they tested positive for coccidia, which is sort of like parvo. It can kill them. We were able to get them treatment immediately, and they're all well now. They've completed their quarantine and are available for adoption. So I hope you can see that 5 days mean the difference between life and death sometimes. And would you please consider changing this policy so rescues can pull either Monday through Friday, all rescues pull, or at least foster bases change to Monday, Wednesday, Friday, since there's more foster bases pulling. I just want to tell you a little bit about McDowell. McDowell, we had 1 officer and 1 assistant at our shelter, and we made it work because they worked with us, and we pulled at any time, and we helped the shelter get turned around. And our shelter is much smaller than yours, but we have not euthanized for space in over a year. We now have 3 on-staff workers, and we're getting ready to get a vet on staff. And all of our animals are, they come out alive. But it's because that they're reaching out and working with the animal rescues. And we have 1 animal control officer. His name is Officer Frank Holder. And he's able to do his job because he reaches out to the animal rescues. We go out and help him with horse situations, with every situation in animal control. We help him get people in compliance with the county ordinance by giving dog houses and different things and getting animals in better situations. So I just wanted to ask you if you would please consider that, because things can be made much better, and if we can work together, imagine how many more lives we can save. Just if we can, just try to work together. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Harkleroad.
That's all the cards I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. I want to welcome y'all tonight and thank all of you for coming. Your concerns were noted by the county manager, and we understand your concern, and we'll work on it. So thank you for coming tonight.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
In Burke County, we have the law on the cats, different than other counties. Is that something that can be changed, or?
Well, here's our dilemma. The operations of that shelter fall under the sheriff, and all the rules are promulgated by the sheriff of this county. So that's where we're going to have to start our negotiations, is with the sheriff himself, and see how we're going to move forward. And that is in the process at this time. So I can't legitimately answer that question because the sheriff is not here tonight. All right. Moving on to item number 9 on our agenda tonight is the consent agenda. This time I'll ask the county manager to review the items on the consent agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have 6 items. First, Blue Ridge Community Action, Community Service Block Grant, fiscal year 2019-20. Item number 2, clerk appointment to the Board of Health. Item 3, clerk reappointment to Foothills Regional Airport Authority. Item 4, county manager, resolution authorizing lease amendment of real estate Ammons Drive, Suite 1. Item 5, tax department, tax collection report for December 2018. And the final item, item 6, tax department release refund report for December 2018. That concludes your consent agenda.
All right, gentlemen, you've heard the presentation by the county manager of the consent agenda. I will accept the motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve all 6 items as presented.
Thank you, Commissioner Taylor. All in favor, please signify by raising your right hands. Madam Clerk, it is 5-0. Moving on to number 10 on the agenda is items for decision. Our first item will be a new job description and salary for an election 2 specialist at the Board of Elections. We're pleased to have with us tonight Anthony Levino, Chairman of the Board of Elections, and Secretary L.H. Kirksey. Gentlemen, if you will come to the microphone or to the table there.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Good to see you, sirs.
Good evening, lady and gentlemen. And thank you for having us back. And what can we do? I know you have a proposal, and
you go ahead and make the presentation, if you would. You have a presentation in front of you.
No, I don't.
What you're seeking, LH, do you have it?
I think you have it.
I do.
Okay.
When we met last, the main points are the stopgap to get us through this current budget year, which is $3,700. And then for fiscal 2019 to 2020, we're requesting $37,500 for a information technology specialist too.
All right, Commissioners, you've heard the presentation. Questions for Chairman Levino or Secretary Kirksey?
Mr. Chairman, I have, at the last meeting, I had informed y'all I would be talking to a couple of attorneys.
Commissioner Taylor, will you hit your button there? There we go.
So before we vote, I do have those responses when you get ready.
You can go.
Go. Okay. Of course, the subject is in the motion and involves a request. Well, it's not a request. It changes it to where the person hired is subject to the chairman and vice chairman's approval for the qualifications of the prospective candidate. I've got Attorney 1 here, and I don't have his name down. Obviously, I don't want to jeopardize them, but I think that this will clarify what I said at the last meeting. And again, what I did was I read the entire page 160 from the pre-agenda package, and shared my concerns and a few comments that I shared during pre-agenda. The attorney's response, good gosh, that doesn't even pass the #1 test, the spell test. It stings to high heaven. Who do they not question? Non-coached, who do they not like at Board of Election? Is it an employee or someone on the board? Maynard's response was, that's what I said at the meeting. Attorney, this does not meet consistency standards. You're singling out one board and imposing different rules for approval of hiring. Attorney, this is inconsistent with normal hiring practice. They are circumventing the Human Resource Department, which is usually a serious no-no. What did the Human Resource Director have to say about this? Maynard's response: I do not know, but she was not at the meeting. Attorney, does the full board have to approve changes in job description, qualifications, budgets increase in order to post an opening? MT's response: in my opinion, we always have, especially, and I don't have that on there, but where the money was over the limit. Attorney, well, why would any Board of Commissioners delegate 2 commissioners' powers over the full board on anything? This gives 2 commissioners more control than the 5. Furthermore, through the normal process, the full board must approve each phase of the process in advance of the job being posted. If the decision is up to 2 commissioners, why do you need an election board, human resource department, or even a board of commissioners? This is crazy. It is so unfair to the applicant. As an applicant, you may be chosen by the election board, approved by human resource director, and shot out of the saddle by 2 commissioners who prefer someone else. It's possible they already have someone in mind, and this is the only way they can secure the job. It is just fundamentally wrong. I don't know what else to tell you, Maynard, but maybe you need to get a second attorney's opinion. My response was that was my plan. Of course, we talked a few things and said goodbye and hung up. I put a little quote on there: those who have an ear, let him hear, because we evidently having problems understanding. Now, this is from Attorney 2, and I can share his name. I asked him if I could. He works for us. He's on call anytime we want him. And this attorney's name is Bob Joyce with North Carolina School of Government. And just as before, I read the entire page, put no input to it, as submitted in the pre-agenda package, page 160. Mr. Joyce's first words is, "Oh no, that is both inappropriate and unlawful. The statute says as long as the Board of Elections spends its personnel money on who gets paid and how they get paid, the county has no control over BOE. The county can and should have a system where human resource does all the paperwork and the finance officer writes the check. That is as far as it goes. As a rule, anytime an entity is under state law in its day-to-day operation, the county cannot overrule or interfere." MT, but how does that apply to the proposed motion, which is subject to chairman and vice chairman approval? Mr. Joyce, no, the state governs BOE. The payroll is usually funded through the county in most counties. Did you ask your county attorney? Maynard's response: no, but one of the other commissioners asked him during the discussion, is it breaking the law? His answer was no. Mr. Joyce, inform your attorney to look at case where Graham County Board of Election versus Graham County Commissioners under North Carolina Court of Appeals, year 2011, and see statute GS 163-32, which states all counties shall pay all employees such compensation as it shall fix within the budget appropriation. Translated, you can't make rules to interfere with the board's responsibility to do their job as required by law, which includes hiring its own employees. MT, I thanked him for his time, informed him that I would share it with the board at tonight's meeting. Mr. Joyce, happy to assist you. I'm here to help. Now, I don't know how to say this, but, well, I do too. I'll use a parable that Jesus used, and, you know, the parable of the talents. He said he gave some 1, some 5, and some 10. And I know that all of you have some talents. I watch them and I see them. But he also says that you must use the talents you have. God blessed me with some talents just as he blessed you with some talents. One of those talents, I can smell an evildoer, an evil thing, about as fast as you can do anything. This looked wrong. I pleaded with you at the last meeting that this was incorrect and improper, and that it would not, it would take more than the time that we had allowed then. I couldn't tell you till I talked to an attorney, and he the thing that we as commissioners need to remember, we seem to forget that who do we work for? Who voted you in? The staff in the county didn't vote you in. Taxpayers voted you in. Employees, even the attorney could not vote you in. He could vote for you. Not even fellow commissioners voted us in. And we need to work by abiding and with the rules and regulations as presented and as the law demands. And this is just, you cannot, it's like one church picking the deacons of another church. And that's what we're doing in this situation. You're going to another body, which is state governed, not county, and trying to impose rules to jeopardize and to gerrymander who you want to be on the board. It's just fundamentally wrong. So, you know, I can't say it any better than first attorney said it just stinks to high heaven. So I would like to say to this board again, it does not make sense to circumvent and go around your elbow when it's just real simple to abide by the rules as they're laid out, and that you let the Board of Elections and the Human Resource Department handle the hirings of Burke County for the Board of Elections.
Mr. Chairman, would it be appropriate just to remove that subject to the chairman and vice chairman's approval qualifications? Could we do that too?
Oh, you certainly could do that in the motion, but I want to recognize the county manager for a comment before we take a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members of the board, it has been the process and policy since I've been here that any time a hire is going to exceed 10% of the county manager's authority over the start of the pay grade, it has to come to the Board of County Commissioners, regardless if it's an employee for the Board of Elections, the Board of DSS, the Board of Health, the sheriff, who is actually elected in a countywide race, as well as the Register of Deeds. What staff has proposed here, or given you an option to consider, is Board of Elections is asking for money that exceeds the county manager's authority. So this was a way to resolve their request to make the changes in the job description and also expedite the process instead of having them wait until the next commissioners meeting to approve the additional funding that exceeded the county manager's authority. That is all that this was attempting to do. Again, it's the board's decision, and this was not an attempt to dictate who the Board of Election hired. It's merely appropriating the money which y'all are the stewards of. That is all this is about.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
We're not talking about the money. He is correct. The manager's correct. If it's over 10%, the board does have to approve it. We're not talking about the money or the pay. We're talking about somebody else placing themselves above the usual, routine, fundamental, procedural policies to choose the employee that they see most beneficial for that, and not somebody out of their board. It's just fundamentally wrong. I don't know what else to tell you. That's 5th grade sentence English. Well, Bob said it's breaking the law. You can't do it.
Again, Mr. Chairman, if we could just remove that chairman and vice chairman's approval of the qualifications, I think it would be all right with Mr. Taylor, I believe.
Mr. Chairman, just a comment. as Brian said, this is something that you know, this has been policy in the past. We're not doing anything different. You know, but I can see both arguments. So I move to increase the starting salary of the election specialist 2 position to $3,700 and appropriate up to $3,700 of general fund balance.
All right, gentlemen, you've heard the motion from Commissioner Mulway. All in favor signify by raising your right hands.
Mr. Chairman, could you repeat the motion?
Did you not hear it?
I would like you to repeat that motion.
I'm asking you, sir, did you hear it
Does
first?
it make any difference?
Yes.
It doesn't?
Yeah, it does.
I asked for you to repeat the motion, not the one that made the motion. You repeat the motion.
I'm not going to repeat the motion. Madam Clerk, read the motion.
The motion was to increase the starting salary of the election specialist 2 position by $3,700 and appropriate up to $3,700 of general fund balance.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
All right, gentlemen, I think you all have heard the motion. All in favor signify by raising your right hands. Madam Clerk, that'll be 5-0. Unanimous. Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you very much.
All right, moving on, item number 2 on the decision items is the award for bid for the NCAE South and Ronnie Road CDBG Waterline Project, presented by Miles Champion, our General Services Director. Miles?
Good evening, gentlemen. Appreciate the opportunity to come tonight. I was sick the last time when you met, so tonight we want to present the award of bid for NC 18 South and Ronnie Road CDBG Waterline Project. The county is proposing to construct the waterline project using CDBG funds. A bid invitation was published on November 11th, 2018. Formal bids were received on December 19th of 2018, at which they were publicly open and read. 6 sealed bids were received by qualified contractors, and the bid tabulation is included. Piedmont Utility Group Incorporated of Mooresboro, North Carolina is a successful low bidder with a total bid amount of $1,843,844.38, including the alternate bid item, which was the Music Mountain altitude valve and vault. The budgetary effect has been outlined in your packet, and I won't go into detail about that, but the total project amount for CDBG funds was $2 million. When you subtract out the administration and engineering funds and add in the low bid, then we still need an amount of $225,124.38 in additional funding in order to execute the contract. The state has been contacted to try to find additional funding. I spoke with Lisa Hilton, with our CDBG coordinator today, and they are actively seeking additional funding through CDBG. We don't have any answers yet, but we're keeping our fingers crossed to see if we can get some additional funding. Currently, we would need the appropriation of the $225,124.38 of general fund balance in order to award the bid. Funding is not available out of the water and sewer fund. I would like to note that there is no contingency fund for rock excavation. The staff and manager's office recommends approval. Do you have any questions?
All right, thank you, Miles. Questions from Miles on this issue?
Mr. Chairman, it's not a question, but I suggested we submit the bids at our pre-agenda, and they tell me that's not possible to meet some deadlines, but I still think that those numbers, you know, this shouldn't have went up that much in a year. But anyhow, I can't dictate that either, so I just wanted to voice again that I believe it might pay us to resubmit the bids.
Any other questions or comments from Miles? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move to award the bid to Piedmont Utility Group Incorporated in the amount of $1,843,844.38. Base bid and alternate for construction of the North Carolina 18 South and Roney Road Waterline Project, and authorize the county manager to execute the contract on behalf of the board, subject to review by the county attorney, and to appropriate up to $225,124.38 of general fund balance if additional grant funds cannot be obtained.
Okay, gentlemen, you've heard the motion by Commissioner Britton. All in favor signify by raising your right hands. Madam Clerk, that will be unanimous, 5-0.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Miles. Moving on to item number 3 on items of decision is adoption of the 2019 Rules of Procedure for Burke County Board of Commissioners as presented. I have no comments on that. Floor is open for other comments.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to circulate this agenda.
Yes, sir.
Item, the first highlight there that you can read along with, Board of Commissioners may adopt its own rules of procedure in keeping with the size and nature of the board in the spirit of generally accepted principles and parliamentary procedure. And does the change you recommended, does it fulfill this parliamentary principle? I would like to ask counsel if he thinks it does. Does it fulfill the generally accepted principles of parliamentary procedure?
I don't know what that is. Commissioners are entitled to adopt whatever rules of procedure that they want. We have a procedure with a pre-agenda meeting where all these things are discussed, and if the board wants to limit it after that to a majority, then that's within the board's power.
Item 2, a single member has a right to remove any item from the consent agenda, in which case it is transferred to the regular agenda so it might be considered on and voted on separately. Does this change, suggested change, fulfill this principle? Yes or no would be fine.
Are you asking me?
Yes, sir.
Does this change? Well, the American Institute of Parliamentarians, that's a fallback if you don't have your own rules. That's what the board's doing right now, is considering its own rules. It does not give a single member the right to remove an item from the consent agenda.
Thank you.
If
the
proposed rules would make a majority to remove something from the consent agenda to the items for decision.
Item 3, the matters listed on the consent agenda are taken up in orders unless objective, in which case they are restored to the ordinary process in which they are placed in line for consideration on the regular agenda. Does that suggested change fulfill that parliamentary principle?
This change does allow a majority to move something from the consent agenda and not one from a single commissioner. And it doesn't, Robert's Rules of Order are only used by this board whenever there is a situation that's not covered by the adopted rules of procedure. So Robert's Rules of Order would not be involved in this.
You're given an explanation and not, does it or does it not?
Does it or does it not what?
Fulfill this rule of instruction.
It differs from Robert's Rules of Order, as does most of our proposed Rules of Order for 2019.
Item 4, prior to the board's adoption of the meeting agenda, the request of any member to have an item moved from the consent agenda to unfinished business must be honored by the board. Does the proposed changes fulfill that order?
The proposed changes are different from that. That's why they're only suggested rules, Mr. Taylor.
So they don't follow generally accepted principles of parliamentary procedure, do they?
The board adopts its own rules of parliamentary procedure. And these are only used to the extent that the board's adopted rules of procedure don't cover it. The board has chosen to cover it. That's within the board's ability.
You know, there's a story we use quite frequently. Thank you, Counsel. That's the last one I will ask you. That 11-year-old boy playing ball, but he owned the bat and the ball, and things didn't go his way, so what did he do? He got his ball and bat and went home. If you can't win by following the rules, why do you want to play? If you can't follow the rules, why do you want to gerrymander? If you can't win by following the rules, you don't go around and change them so that you have an edge or you have a power or control or anything. You attempt to change the rules even when they do not fulfill the parliamentary procedure. You can't, I can't save you from yourself. It's like a Judas attitude. You're betraying the own board. You're betraying the rules, standard rules and policy procedure to have what you want. Now that's less than 11-year-old attitude. It's a Judas attitude. So I'm, and Madam Clerk, I want it on record. I want a full copy of this meeting, unedited, on tape.
Mr. Chairman, what did the item C, where it says requires a majority vote of the board, what was the original words there?
Original was this: any member can ask one to be removed.
All right.
Excuse me, I didn't mean to ask your question.
If I can remember, in 16 years, we probably only dealt with this rule maybe once or twice that I can remember. I don't know why we're making a change. It happens so little that we, I don't know if it's worth arguing about, but I can only remember maybe twice that we, in 16 years, even dealt with that.
Mr. Chairman, I had a fellow gentleman suggest, and Wayne, I disagree a little bit, is it worth arguing about, because it takes the freedom of speech away from you as a commissioner to voice a second opinion on an item of business that you're going to vote for. And some of those items of businesses cost millions of dollars, thousands of dollars. Maybe the best thing we do, we really go back. We just don't have a consent agenda. Make everything a decision product. And then you'd be back on level ground.
Are there any other comments?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
I would just reiterate my comments from the December pre-agenda meeting. As I recall, this rule was in place, the suggested rule was in place prior to last year. It was only after the school of governments revised their suggested rules and we accepted those without realizing this was in there. The problem that I see with their suggested rules is they are not written around our process of a pre-agenda meeting. They tend to be written around a one meeting a month type arrangement. We have a pre-agenda meeting where we discuss in detail these matters that are going on the consent agenda. It is at that meeting and at that time, if a commissioner has any concern, certainly could ask that that item be held to decision at that time. Once we have had all the information given to us and we have agreed to leave it on the consent agenda as a board, then it seems counterproductive to me to allow a single member 2 weeks later, when we've already told the folks who would be here to present that information to us, hey, this is on consent agenda, you don't necessarily need to be here because we're not going to discuss it. So if we just willy-nilly take an item off consent agenda, at that time, the information may not be available for us to fully discuss it at that time. However, I fully understand that something could happen in that 2-week time frame. And I believe this board and any board would be able to act appropriately by majority to move that item from consent to decision at that time if it was deemed necessary. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Are there any other comments?
Mr. Chairman, that doesn't work. I'm sorry. It's just, you know, you're trying to control free speech, and whatever change that makes a commissioner who voted on pre-agenda to put it on pre-agenda to change, it needs to be heard. That is information that maybe you haven't heard, but it really doesn't make any difference. It's a free-flowing session that, and I'd be willing to bet, excuse me, I didn't finish my sentence, but if I'd be willing to bet you $1,000 against $10 that if you polled this question to 60 attorneys, 80% of them would say, no, this is what you need in your minutes for free-flowing, fundamental, you know, keeping with the nature and board and the spirit generally accepted by principles of parliamentary procedure. Madam Clerk, not to put you on the spot, do you know how many boards use the language that they're trying to change?
Excuse me, not right off the top of my head, but I can get that information for you.
Would you say the majority uses the rules that we've been using on that subject, on that item?
I would imagine that the School of Government hopes they do, but until I, queried the listserv, I wouldn't know.
Well, we forget that many of the things that the laws and that attorneys practice and become the standard of rules and courts try on and everything is not something invented 10 minutes ago. It's been tried years and years and years. It's been used years. They come up with the best system and they recommend the best system. And we want to go around. I don't understand that. It doesn't take much mental energy to me. We have a chance here. We have a chance that doesn't cost you any money. A lot of times as a commissioner, you got the good, the better, the best. A lot of times we don't get to choose the better and the best because the budget won't allow it. This has no budget dollars attached to it. And yet it is at least 3 to 4 times better than what you're proposing. So why wouldn't you do the best? Me and Jesus stand alone a lot of times, folks. And I'll stand alone a lot more times. But this contriving and changing things to get your way when the law has been there and I know it's been 7 years. I meant to go back and check that. But we've been under this practice for 7 years. And to change it because somebody got happy, because they were corrected and called point of order, that's kid stuff. We need to get out of it and move on.
Floor's open for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move the 2019 Rules of Procedure for the Burke County Board of Commissioners be accepted as presented.
All right, you've heard the motion from Commissioner Britton. All in favor signify by raising your right hand. All opposed? Madam Clerk, that'll be 3-2 with Commissioner Taylor, Commissioner Hagley dissenting. Okay, moving on to our reports and comments. So I believe we'll start tonight with County Attorney. Please, sir.
No comments from me tonight.
Thank you. Commissioner Hagley?
No comments.
Mr. Taylor?
I did have a couple, but I don't know what I did with. Hold on a second.
Can we come back to you?
That'll be fine.
Well, alongside you, I had the honor last week to be our voting delegate in Raleigh and attending the Legislative Goals Committee. We were able to identify and support over 24 goals we're going to take to the state legislature. We did it over a 2-day period, a lot of hard work, a lot of good input. It's my first time doing it. It was a very interesting process, and it's amazing what you can get done with 100 counties. It really is. And so we got a lot of good work done. I was excited about it. And I do want to mention too, most folks don't know, Chairman Carswell was also the committee co-chair for the Legislative Goals Committee, which was an additional bunch of work that he had to do to vet down our goals to narrow that our goals to take to the General Assembly this year. And so, but a very interesting time. And also, I was down there. I also attended leading your county governing board class, and that was last Wednesday. So, a lot of good information, and I appreciate y'all allowing me to go. Thank you.
Mr. Britton. All right, Mr. Taylor.
The materials from, or the minutes from regular meetings are in your package as usual. And the other thing I wanted to announce for the benefit of those who may not know it, that I am changing from going to Asheville for my new orientation, I guess you would call it. It's going to be done here in Burke County. And I think, Maureen, you're going to do that too. So, but just for information that I won't be going to Asheville.
Thank you, sir. The only comments I have tonight is I want to thank the Vice Chair for taking over for me for the first meeting during my debilitation. Was suffering from something called cellulitis, the most excruciating pain I have ever had in my life. Sat in a chair for 12 days with my leg propped up, hoping the infection would go away, and through prayer, thank God it finally did. So thank you, Mr. Vice Chair, for what you did for me. Let me remind you that the county offices are going to be closed on Monday, January the 21st in service of the Martin Luther King Day. Doctor, that we will be attending also, when is it, Kay? The 19th we'll be going to the M.L. King Supper. I think if you ordered a ticket, those tickets are here on the table. Also, we have budget presentation meetings, and that will begin on Friday, February the 22nd at 8:30 a.m. here in the Commissioner's room. Does anybody else have any other, what you got? Okay, I'll be to you in a minute. Okay, the only other thing, I will attend also the Martin Luther King presentation on Sunday at the church. Slade's Chapel, if any of y'all would, it's at 4 o'clock, if any of y'all can go to that, I would appreciate you attending that at Slade's Chapel. We have an invitation to go to that also. All right, we'll move to the vacancy announcements now. Madam Clerk?
May I make a few announcements first?
Sure.
The Region E Development Board was officially dissolved according to Anthony Starr at the COG. Just want to get that in the official record. It is time to start planning the 2019 legislative breakfast with the community college, and they have proposed 2 dates, Friday, March 29th and Friday, March 22nd. If anybody has a preference over those 2 dates, again, March 29th is their first preference. Also, if you need for me to RSVP for you to attend the dedication ceremony and open house for the new Mountain View Elementary School, I would be happy to do that. That is Tuesday, January 22nd from 4 to 6 p.m.
Madam Clerk, question, please. I sent my response back. Did you get it? I mean, did they copy it to you, or?
They didn't let me know, but I'll follow up with them and make sure they got it.
Okay, thank you.
And I also wanted to let you know that the UNC School of Government has made some changes on their legislative reporting service. It's now free to local government employees and the public. So if you're interested, you can check that out. And lastly, there is a report at your desk from Sherry Long at the COG. It's a grant update progress report. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Gentlemen, we do have a need for closed session tonight pursuant to North Carolina General Statute 143 pardon me. Did you get your vacancies in?
No, if you'd like, I'll do the vacancies now.
Yeah, go through the vacancies real quick.
We have the following opportunities for citizens to get involved: the Hickory Regional Planning Commission, the Adult Care and Nursing Home Community Advisory Committee, Council on Aging, Aging Regional, Juvenile Crime Prevention Council, City of Morganton Board of Adjustment, and Planning Board for the ETJ areas, the Voluntary Agriculture Board, the Burke County Board of Adjustment and Planning Board, the Western Piedmont Regional Transit Authority Transportation Advisory Board, Partners Behavioral Health Management, the Animal Advisory Board, the Board of Health, and the Burke Senior Center Advisory Council.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Hated to interrupt you there. Thank you for that great presentation. Now, again, we will have a need to go into closed session pursuant to North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11A3, 4, and 6. I don't expect any decisions to be made. I think this will be contractual, taking a look at contracts and other information. So at this time, I would accept a motion to go into closed session. Have a proper motion, and let's take about a 5-minute break before we go into closed session. That motion was by Commissioner Taylor. All in favor? It's 5-0, ma'am.